Hello there, I'm Nicholas, and this is On Listening with Chi Rising Studio. Thank you for joining me today. In the intricate landscape of human experience, stress emerges as a profound messenger, a signal that travels through the delicate pathways of our consciousness, carrying ancient wisdom from our evolutionary past. Today, we'll journey into understanding stress not as an enemy to be conquered, but as a complex communication system embedded within our being. Stress is fundamentally a survival mechanism, a sophisticated neural and hormonal response that has ensured the continuation of our species for hundreds of thousands of years. It's a nuanced system that transforms our entire physiological landscape in milliseconds, preparing us for potential threats or challenges. Consider the fundamental architecture of our stress response. When a potential threat is perceived, our brain, specifically the amygdala, sends an immediate signal to the hypothalamus. This neural communication center then triggers a cascade of hormonal and neurological responses that permeate every system of our body. Cortisol and adrenaline flood our bloodstream, redirecting energy from non-essential functions to critical survival mechanisms. Our heart rate accelerates, breathing becomes more rapid and shallow, muscles tense, and our sensory perception sharpens. We become, quite literally, a heightened version of ourselves prepared for immediate action. This response evolved in environments radically different from our current experience. Our ancestors faced immediate physical threats, a predator, a rival tribe, a sudden environmental danger. This stress response was a precise life-preserving mechanism that could mean the difference between survival and extinction. But in our modern world, these same physiological responses are triggered by psychological and emotional stimuli that pose no immediate physical threat. An email we perceive as tense, a challenging conversation, financial uncertainty. These can activate the same neural pathways that once protected us from physical danger. This disconnect between our evolutionary programming and contemporary life creates a unique psychological landscape. Our bodies react as if we are constantly under threat, even when no immediate physical danger exists. And this persistent activation of stress responses can lead to chronic health issues, emotional exhaustion, and a fundamental disruption of our inner equilibrium. Neurologically, prolonged stress fundamentally alters brain structure. Chronic stress can reduce the size of the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for complex thinking, decision-making, and emotional regulation. Simultaneously, it can increase the size of the amygdala, making us more reactive and less capable of measured responses. But stress is not a biological malfunction. It's a profound communication system offering insights into our deepest fears, vulnerabilities, and potential for growth. Each stress response carries information about our boundaries, our values, and our unresolved psychological patterns. The key to transforming our relationship with stress lies in developing conscious awareness. Now, this isn't about eliminating stress, but about cultivating a more nuanced, compassionate relationship with our inner experiences. Mindfulness practices offer a powerful approach to understanding and modulating our stress responses. By creating a deliberate space between stimulus and reaction, we interrupt the automatic neural pathways that have been carved through years of unconscious patterning. Imagine your consciousness as a vast, open landscape. Emotions, including stress, are like weather systems that pass through this landscape. A storm of stress might arrive, dark clouds gathering, wind howling with intense feelings of pressure and uncertainty. The crucial revelation is that we are not the storm. We're not the rain, the wind, or even the clouds. We are the landscape itself, unchanging, vast, and fundamentally peaceful. Just as a mountain remains unmoved by the most turbulent weather, our core consciousness remains unaltered by the emotional storms that move through our experience. The storm arrives, moves through the landscape, and then passes. It doesn't define us, it doesn't fundamentally change the terrain of who we are. This perspective transforms our relationship with emotions. Instead of being trapped within the storm, we can observe it. We can feel its intensity, acknowledge its presence, and simultaneously remain rooted in the deeper, more fundamental aspect of our consciousness. Our emotions become like interesting meteorological events, powerful, sometimes overwhelming, but ultimately transient. We learn to watch them with curiosity rather than being swept away by their intensity. Practicing this perspective is an act of awareness. It requires us to develop a kind of internal spaciousness, a capacity to create distance between our essential self and the emotional experiences moving through us. When stress arrives, we can notice its characteristics. How does it feel? What sensations accompany it? Where do we feel it in the body? By bringing this level of conscious attention, we transform our relationship with stress from one of unconscious reactivity to one of mindful observation. Conscious awareness of our breath is critical in this process. Conscious, deep breathing directly communicates with our autonomic nervous system, signaling safety and shifting us from a sympathetic stress state to a parasympathetic relaxation state. Our brains are not fixed structures, but dynamic, adaptable systems. Through consistent practice of mindfulness, meditation, and conscious awareness, we can literally rewire our neural pathways, creating more resilient, flexible stress response mechanisms. This is something we call neuroplasticity. The Western psychological model often views stress as a problem to be fixed. But what if we approached stress as information, a sophisticated communication system offering insights into our inner world? Each stress response becomes an opportunity for self-understanding, a momentary glimpse into our deepest psychological landscapes. Our emotions are not our identity. They are experiences that move through our consciousness. Stress is not something that happens to us, but something we participate in creating. By shifting from a reactive to a responsive mode, we reclaim our agency. Understanding stress requires a holistic perspective. It's not just a psychological phenomenon, nor is it merely a biological response. It's an intricate dance between our evolutionary heritage, our current environmental context, and our capacity for conscious awareness. Exercise, yoga, dance, these aren't just physical activities, but sophisticated neural reset mechanisms that can help discharge accumulated stress and restore physiological balance. Social connection emerges as a critical factor in stress management. Humans are fundamentally social creatures. Our stress responses are modulated by our sense of safety, belonging, and connection. Meaningful relationships act as a buffer against chronic stress, offering emotional regulation and psychological resilience. Along this road, sleep plays a crucial part we often overlook in stress discussions. During sleep, our brain processes emotional experiences, consolidates memories, and performs essential neural maintenance. Chronic stress disrupts our sleep, creating a destructive feedback loop that further compromises our stress resilience. Finally, nutrition and our internal biochemical environment significantly impact our stress responses. Certain foods, especially ultra-processed foods, lifestyle choices, and nutritional patterns can exacerbate our physiological stress mechanisms. Our individual stress responses are as unique as our fingerprints. Genetics, personal history, cultural background, and individual psychological makeup all contribute to how we experience and process stress. The goal is not to eliminate stress, but to develop a more sophisticated, compassionate relationship with our inner experiences. We're learning to be curious about our stress, to listen to its messages without being consumed by its intensity. As you move through your day, I invite you to become an observer of your stress responses, noticing without judgment, breathing, listening to the profound wisdom your body is communicating. If you found value in this episode, please consider sharing it with a friend who might also find it interesting. Your support helps us continue to create this space for learning and growth. You can find out more about our studio and the podcast at chirising.studio.